course, the part from government side is really important as well. And we have two great speakers today who will share more about like tech part of Ukraine, which could be interesting to you. We have Valeria today, who can share more insights about what they're doing in digital transformation in Ukraine, and I believe this is a great great experience that we have in Ukraine, something like this, and we have never had something like this before. And I will just leave the stage for Valeria to tell more about what they're doing, and I think it's great. So the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Kirill. Hello, dear colleagues. It's a big pleasure to be today here with you. So as Kirill said, my name is Valerie and I am Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. And today I would like to share some information about the ministry, our main goals and our main achievements. And of course, I would be very glad to discuss and to try to find potential points of collaboration. So let's start. So the goal of the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine is to build the most convenient and people-centered state possible, which means a country without queues, without corruption, and without bureaucracy. So that's why we have four main strategic goals for the next 3 years. To make 100% of public services online. If the service is not online, it simply doesn't exist. This is our goal. 95% of transport infrastructure and settlements are covered by high-speed internet. 6 million of Ukrainian people are involved into the digital skills development program, and 10% is the share of IT in the country's GDP. That's our four main goals for the next 3 years, and we are every day working on them very hard. Among the most important achievements for the first year of the ministry's existence, I would like to mention the next ones. So it's launching the application and online portal DIA. Ukraine has become the country in the world where you can use an electronic passport without showing paper plastic original. And on the DIA portal, there are more than 50 different online services, including the fastest business registration in the world. The service eBaby, thanks to which Ukraine has become a world leader in the number of public online services for parents of newborns. This is 9 services in one application form. Also, one of our other achievements is a national project to provide high-speed internet to all residents of Ukraine. More than almost 2 million Ukrainians have gained access to 4G for the first time since July. Then the next achievement is launching of DIA City, which will create a special legal regime and the best tax system for the creative industry and IT market. Project DIA Digital Education, the purpose of which is to teach basic digital skills to all Ukrainians. In less than a year, more than 500,000 people took courses on the portal. So I will just go further through the presentation and will show you how the ecosystem of DIA project looks like. So DIA is the brand of digital state. DIA is also an acronym which translates into Ukrainian as the state and me, and has a translation into English as action. So the ecosystem DIA has 5 different projects. The first one is an app, DIA. It's the mobile application which gives access to Ukrainian people to digital documents on smartphones, which they can use in everyday life. 9 digital documents available in the mobile application: driver's license, vehicle and car registration certificate, student card, citizen's passport in the form of ID card, and foreign biometric passport, tax number, child's birth certificate, and certificate of internally displaced person. We have introduced a revolutionary document sharing feature. So now a person can share digital copies of DIA documents. Also, DIA became the payment instrument. Now Ukrainians can pay debts and fines directly in application. As for another project, which is DIA portal, this is a special portal where we plan to digitalize all of the services in 3 years. As for the DIA City project, as I've mentioned before, it's a virtual economic zone for IT companies with a special tax, financial, and legal conditions. DIA City creates the best conditions for conducting IT businesses in Ukraine. One of our also very important projects is DIA Digital Education. It is a national project which is dedicated to development of digital literacy, and project aims to teach 6 million of Ukrainian people with digital literacy skills. This project has two components. The online component, which is the project, which is the educational platform with more than 50 different series. When creating those series, we use a combination of learning and entertainment. There are no boring lectures, only exciting educational series with the participation of experts and celebrities, filled with very smart dialogues, improvisations, and jokes. The effectiveness of this format is impressive. Almost 80% of users watch all episodes of our series, pass final testing, and receive certificates. The platform has been already visited by 2 million of Ukrainian people, and about 500,000 have already registered and started their training. We have also launched a special test which is called Digigram, and it was launched not so long ago. There are 90 questions. 30 digital competencies are assessed, from media literacy and digital content creation to personal safety in the digital environment. The methodology is based on the adaptation of European framework, which is called DigiComp 2.1 by Ukrainian experts. The offline component of the project is a network of 6,000 digital education hubs. These are places where every citizen is free to visit, get free access to the web portal, and receive training in digital literacy. Another project which is included into DIA ecosystem is called DIA Business, and this is a national project for the development of SMEs in Ukraine. It also has two components. The online component is a one-stop shop for small and medium-sized businesses. So actually it's all useful tools which collected on the site. The portal offers 58 types of free online consultations for entrepreneurs in the areas of financial management, HR, marketing, sales, etc. Also on the portal, it is possible to find information about export, import, about how to do business in Ukraine, how to find clients and partners. There is a big catalog of services and opportunities, and a big section on export, and another section is a free online school for entrepreneurs. The offline component of this project includes a network of support centers for entrepreneurs, DIA Business, in every city of Ukraine. In such cities, entrepreneurs can get a free consulting service from practicing entrepreneurs, attend educational events, test their products in a special pop-up area, and rent space for their business events. We plan to launch such centers in every city of Ukraine during the next 3 years. Last year, we have launched 3 centers in Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, and at Kyiv National University of Taras Shevchenko. And this year, we plan to launch from 6 up to 15 more centers throughout Ukraine. What is also very interesting about our ministry is the new position that was launched, which is called CDTO. It's a Chief Digital Transformation Officer. So during the first year of the work of our ministry, we have managed to build such an organizational structure in the state, which allows to accelerate digital processes in the country and build a system that will help to achieve them. We use a systems approach for effective transformation. We are not digitizing the bureaucracy, we are completely restructuring the processes. In February, we presented 94 digital transformation projects. Among them, e-property, e-school, e-social, e-security, e-permits, and many others. This strategy reflects the activities of the Cabinet of Ministers and contains clear plans for digitalization, the transition to modern, transparent, and automated rules. So in order to accelerate the digitalization process in the regions, the Ministry of Digital Transformation has introduced this new position of CDTO at various levels of government. CDTO is a profile deputy for digital development, digital transformation, and digitalization. The main functions of CDTO are development of information resources, telecommunication systems, and electronic registers, strengthening cybersecurity and protection of information, introducing new electronic administrative and public services, simplification of administrative procedures. So we'll try the next slide. Also, in 2020, despite all its turbulence and COVID situation, many initiatives were implemented to ensure that in 2021, meaning this year, Ukraine will enter the paperless regime and will lay a solid foundation for building a digital state. Our President Volodymyr Zelensky initiated development of the project of Ukraine as a paperless state. And we are actively implementing this project. So from the 1st of September 2021, Ukraine will go into paperless mode. Our ambitious goal is to place Ukraine among the top 10 digital countries in the world by 2025. And in our vision, by this time, every Ukrainian will have the necessary skills, access, and the opportunity to freely use digital tools in education, work, and personal life. Every Ukrainian will spend the minimum time and resources to receive public services without queues, certificates, and any contact with officials and public servants. Every Ukrainian will participate in elections and governmental processes online. The state apparatus will be significantly optimized, but with the help of digital processes. Thanks to digitalization, Ukraine will save billions of hryvnias, and the authorities will work as efficiently as possible without corruption. Opening and doing business online in Ukraine will be one of the easiest in the world. We already have our first steps and first achievements in that. There is still a lot of work, but we are sure that we can achieve it in a very short period of time. We want Ukraine to use the latest technologies and attract foreign investment. So generally, I can say a lot more about the project and achievements that are ongoing and about our plans. But I think the main idea is that Ukraine is transforming to a digital state. We have some of our first very significant results, and yet there are more results to come. We are very open for collaboration with tech businesses, with international businesses. So with the Ministry of Digital Transformation, we'll be eager to connect with each one of you and discuss the potential of how we can help and potential points of collaboration. It was a pleasure to be together with you today. And if we have some time for questions or comments, I will be ready to answer them. Thank you.
Amazing, Valerie. Thank you very, very much, first of all. Maybe I just want to highlight a few things based on what you mentioned, and then maybe also, of course, hear your insights into it. But I think from the point that you have such intense work to make everything digital, and all the citizens also very used to this digital world, I think just by doing that, by doing that, you prepare the whole society to actually experience this digital transformation that is happening around the world, right? Which also something that we see in Brazil, for example, it is still a challenge because we have a lot of different communities that have no access to internet or very low access to internet, people that don't really know how to use that. So first of all, really interesting. And I also want to highlight that for the companies that, in the near future, as it works, I can see a huge impact. Also, if you want to talk about labor or even usage and adoption of technologies, I can see Ukraine is getting higher and higher, more interesting in that, right? And then maybe one question from my side, and guys, everyone there, if you have questions, please pop them up on the chat, because I'm sure they'll be very interesting as well. and we have one already. But maybe let me do mine first, and then I'll ask for this one next. But how do you see all of this also impacting the attraction of companies from other places, right? From other countries? Do you think that is something that also supports and makes it more interesting for international companies to be in Ukraine? And do you have any experience or any results that came out of this new digital transformation already?
Thank you for the question. So, as I've mentioned, we are now in a process of launching DSCT project. It will be a special done for IT companies with a special economic and tax regime. So when it will be like finally launched, I'm sure it will faster this process, and we will have a lot of international companies who would be willing to start their business in Ukraine. So we are now really working on it, and I hope that in autumn we will have some first big results on that. However, we have the project which is called Dear Business. It is mostly for SMEs, but there are some tech businesses among SMEs too. So this project is available at the link business.dia.gov.ua. I will share all the links later. And the portal is also translated into English. So if someone will be interested in the information about how to launch business in Ukraine, what are potential clients here, about some services and opportunities, so you can easily find this information at this portal.
Very nice and very helpful for sure. We have two questions here already. One of them is from Marco, and he's saying, Ukraine seems to have involved a lot in digital governance. What is your opinion about people's participation, political support, and dedication from the central government to transform a country digitally?
That's an interesting philosophical question, I think. So, well, we are working on explaining people what opportunities could they get when the country will totally go paperless and will be totally digitalized. Look, now, like, everybody is talking about digital economy. What is digital economy? It's everything. So, like, you will hardly find a business, I think, in Europe who is not thinking about transferring online. Like a couple of years and everything will be online. So it is very important to explain it to people who have low level of digital skills, of digital literacy, and thinks that it is okay, because there is a big digital gap, and it is important to explain those people who are on another side of this gap on how digital literacy, how digital services, how digital economy could help them be more competitive, not only in Ukraine, but in the world market. So, of course, with the ministry have a lot of information campaigns, communication campaigns, but the most effective are projects and services. Look, when you have your digital passport in your smartphone, and you can use this passport when, for example, you're traveling by car, you're traveling by train or by air in country, and you don't need a paper one. So you just show your app with your passport or with your driving license, and it is very, very like comfortable. It saves a lot of time. If you want, let's say, to pay a fine because you have some problem with police, you can do it through your app. If you want to get some service or you want to register your company, you can do it only in 10 minutes. So it is very easy, and that's why it foster a lot of different processes. So I hope I somehow answered your questions. And also I wanted to mention that we in the ministry, we have a philosophy. We want to transform people's lives, institutions and businesses for better with the help of digital transformation. So everything, absolutely everything what we are doing, it is linked to that philosophy. We are always asking ourselves, does this project, does this idea, does this service really helps people? Does this project is under those four main strategic goals? And this is how we make solutions in the ministry.
Very nice and very helpful. I can only imagine me traveling with a digital passport. That would be amazing. We have another question here. And Fabio is asking if you could mention a bit more again about the courses. So maybe he didn't really get why we were explaining, but he asked, how do you stimulate people to get into the courses and learn that digitally?
Yeah, thank you so much. Digital literacy is a big challenge now for lots of countries. In Ukraine, we've done a research in the end of 2019, and it was the first research in Ukraine on digital literacy, actually. And it showed us that 53% of Ukrainian people have digital literacy lower than basic level. And the majority of those people are people of the third age and people aged 45 plus who live in regions. And what was interesting in this research also is that the people that have low digital literacy or that do not have digital literacy at all, they also have the lowest motivation to learn, to study. So it was a very tough task to find those triggers on how to motivate them. So what we have done? First, we have launched this national educational platform on digital literacy. We have not made special courses with speaking heads on the white wall. All of the series are made in edutainment format, entertainment plus education. There is a celebrity always in the course together with an expert. So when we're speaking about the people of the third age who have never ever in their life tried to learn something online, but they always were watching TV. So they have like another kind of opinion leaders, right? They have like TV hosts or like experts that they see on TV. And that's why we thought it is important to engage those opinion leaders to our courses. So we have prepared such series in edutainment format with celebrities which are linked to every segment of target audience. And then we have shared those series with regional TV channels. And that's how we try to engage people from offline to move to online. Secondly, we are working with youth, with young professionals, with people who have parents in the third age, and we are asking them to help to promote the portal. We have lots of informational campaigns. Also, there are some specific movements, for example, IT grandmas. We have an association which is called IT grandmas. So as you could imagine, there are women of the third age who are gathering together and they are learning through our platform and through like different messengers. Also, there is a very interesting movement in cyber sports for people of the third age. And I don't know if you know, but the Ukrainian team in cyber sports have won one of the biggest championships in cyber sport in their category. So like there are plenty of things on how we want to engage them. If we're speaking about young professionals, it is more about new digital professions, about digital marketing, about SEO, about email marketing, artificial intelligence, big data, AR, VR, MR, XR, extended reality, like everything, cryptocurrencies. So for each segment of target audience, we have a very specific content and we have some special channels of communication.
This is so nice. I can only imagine the impact in the long term is amazing.
Thank you.
My voice is reverberating somewhere. Yeah, I already figured out why. But we have one last question here, Valerie. I think if we still have time. Fabio is also asking if the digital passport is accepted in other countries.
Not yet, but we will. But I think that we will work on that. First, we are concentrating on all of the services in Ukraine, and the next steps, we'll see. Maybe it will be.
Hopefully in the future, everyone adopts something similar, right?
Yeah, hopefully. We will. I can assure that we will be a big driver of digitalization processes, not only in Ukraine, but in the whole world. So hopefully, sometimes.
That's very nice. And maybe one last question, just because I'm very curious, and I think there's no way that we cannot think of Estonia when you talk about digital governments. How do you position, or how do you see yourself compared to Estonia? I think it seems much easier to do it in Estonia, which is a small country, than doing it in Ukraine. But I'm also curious to hear your side of the story.
Well, it is not easy to compare. Not only Estonia is a country of 4 million population, and Ukraine with a 40 million population, but also is that the path that took Estonia like for 10 years. We are only, our ministry was inaugurated in the end of 2019. So I think it's a little bit early to compare. Let's continue our discussion in 2024, and then I'm sure I will give you a response.
Amazing. No, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Where they can reach out to you or to the ministry if they want to get in touch or hear more?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please? Because there was some problem with the sound.
Yeah, no, of course. Just, is there anywhere where they can get in touch with you if they have more questions?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I will just now show you the final slide with the QR codes and my contact. So everyone who is interested, just ping me in Facebook or somewhere. 1 second.
That sounds amazing.
Give me a second. So here are QR codes. So please just save them and add me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, like wherever you want. I will be so glad to get acquainted with you guys and try to find some potential points of collaboration. And thanks again for this perfect event, and thanks for the invitation. It was a big pleasure.
Thank you very much. Kirill, do you want to do the final words and maybe introduce the next speaker?
Yeah. Thanks, Valerie, for your time and for the presentation. I really hope that in 2024 we will have even much more to say. I believe if we will have the same focus, we will have much better results than in Estonia, I believe, because the scale of what is happening in Ukraine now is pretty huge. The next speaker I would like to invite will be Igor Markevich from Ukrainian Startup Fund. We just changed the speaker. Pavel doesn't have a chance to join us, but Igor, who is working with startups and actively promoting Ukrainian Startup Fund, will join us. Igor, do you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Right.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Yeah. Ukrainian Startup Fund actually is a huge player in Ukrainian tech ecosystem scene now, because they are doing a lot of initiatives, and actually they invest real money into startups. They provide grants for early stage startups, pre-seed stage startups, and seed stage. So you can receive 25, 75,000 if you're a startup in Ukraine. We have never had something like this before, and this is the first initiative in Ukraine which can provide real money for startups who are doing something innovative. I will not take a lot of time from Igor. I think he will tell more about what they're doing, and you'll have a chance to ask everything from Igor in person.
Okay.
The stage is yours.
So, can I share a screen?
I think I need to make you a co-host. Give me a second.
Okay.
There we go. Now you'll be able.
Thanks. So I'm like a perfect substitution. So I will tell you a little bit about the Ukrainian Startup Fund. Today I'm going to tell you about how to get financing in the amount of $25,000 US and $50,000 US here in Ukraine for your business, for your scalable business, for your startup. and how Ukrainian Startup Fund can help you. So what is the Ukrainian Startup Fund? It's like the biggest angel investor here in Ukraine, but it's actually a state-owned fund, which was launched by the initiative of Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine. So our commission is to promote the creation and development of not even technological startups, but every startup in the early stages, like pre-seed and seed, in order to increase their global competitiveness. So the process of selecting startups for grants, it's a competitive one. So the companies are evaluated and elected by the expert and the board of independent investment experts. So our total budget of Ukrainian Startup Fund is approximately 20 million US dollars. And our key function is to provide Ukrainian startups with non-equity grants, with mentorship, with acceleration and incubation programs, and different learning activities and additional opportunities. So as I mentioned above, we provide grants. We provide grants 25K US dollars and 50K US dollars. It depends on the stage of the startup. So on a pre-seed stage, we provide 25K. On the seed stage, we provide 50K. So what's the difference? We define pre-seed stage startups as those who have an idea and they don't like go with their product to the markets. And seed stage is the stage where Ukrainian startups are already with the MVP and like they have their first market experience. So in total, when you are growing with the Ukrainian Startup Fund, you can get even 75K US dollars. So first pre-seed grant and then seed grant. So we fund the project with the great potential of commercial success. And by the way, we grant only Ukrainian business. So if you want to get grant from Ukrainian Startup Fund, you should be registered here, incorporated here in Ukraine as a Ukrainian legal entity. And you should focus on a global market. As I mentioned above, you should be in the early stage, so pre-seed and seed. You should be income oriented, have a leadership team, and be innovative. Like this is the key point, to be innovative. We fund only innovative startups, only innovative business.
Igor, sorry to interrupt you, but this is very important. And can I highlight that in Portuguese as well, just because I really want them to stick with this information?
Okay.
Would you mind?
One more?
Do you mind if I highlight that in Portuguese as well?
Yep.
Yeah, ok. Tá, gente, eu só queria chamar a atenção de novo para isso aí em português, para vocês verem a dimensão do negócio. Né? Então, são de 25 a 50 mil dólares, que deve dar, eu mandei no chat aí para vocês, né? Entre 135 e 275 mil reais, sem nenhuma participação de equity feita, né, por esse fundo aí que veio de iniciativa pública do governo. E a única coisa que tem que ressaltar, que é bem importante, e eu usaria isso como perguntas depois para ele, que é que tem que ser uma empresa incorporada na Ucrânia. Mas é basicamente o dinheiro de graça para você começar a implementar o teu projeto, né, pensando no mercado global. Então, muito legal essa iniciativa aí. Tem pouca coisa parecida, né? A gente tem algumas coisas parecidas com o Brasil, mas eu acho que vale ressaltar aí o quanto interessante é isso, né? Yeah, sorry, Igor. I just really wanted to highlight that.
Okay, thanks. You sound great.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's continue to the industries. Actually, we do not have the priorities in the industries of the startups. and we gather all the applications from all the startups in different spheres, from artificial intelligence, here you can see, to AR, VR, big data, blockchain, ego, security, fintech, legal tech, industry, and so on. But another key point, you can't submit the application in the sphere of the industry, which is forbidden here in Ukraine. So you can't like set up the startup in porno industry or people trading and so on. About our principles, our like main thing is that all our procedures are in electronic form. So we do not use paper at all. We are actually paperless. So all the documents are signed by the digital signature, and they get into our system, and the experts, the internal team of the fund, the investment committee, our supervisory board are working with their in the electronic form. All the processes are automated. So the application goes through different processes in our web portal without no any manual actions. All the decisions are really independent. So we use the independent experts in the sphere in investments. We use the independent experts from the different industries, from startups, from accelerators, and so on. They even don't know who else is evaluating the startup. So each startup is evaluated at least by 2 experts. The fourth one is we grant the minimum contacts with the fund. So we do not advise the startups. We only support the technical issues. We support our programs and the technical user flow of our programs. We do not advise the startups on the issues of business, of team, and of the development of such startups. How to apply? It's actually easy. You should enter our web portal to register there, then to read all the programs, all the policies, and like put a checkbox. Then you should submit the application, pass the compliance check, then your application goes to experts evaluation. Each application is evaluated at least by 2 experts. When the difference between the points of such experts is more than 6 points, then the third expert is appointed. So in such a way, we protect the independence of each evaluation of the applications. And after that, if the application gets more than 12 points from 20, such startup goes to pitch day. What is pitch day? Pitch day is online presentation of the startup in front of independent jury. What the difference between the experts and the investment committee, the jury? So the experts are like technical experts, technical advisors, and so on. And the investment jury is the jury which consists of people who have experience in investing. For example, experts from the VCs, angel investors, representatives of different donors, grant organizations, and so on. Selection criteria are like this. So the experts and the selection committee put their points on such criteria. The main one is team, the second market, strategy, product or idea. It depends on the stage of startup. So the seed stage, they evaluate the product. If the startup is on the pre-seed stage, they evaluate the idea. And the fifth one is the validity of the cost estimate. So all the money goes from our Ukrainian state budget, and they should be in compliance with all our internal policies and our program, because it's money of Ukrainian taxpayers. Another one program in our batch is corporate innovations. What does it mean? This is a program with our partner, a European Business Association. And what are we doing actually? We help to businesses to identify the solutions and to find the best startups. If you know, each business actually has its own issues, own problems. And like in general way, they search the market for different startups. They like set up different innovative departments in their firms, in their incorporations. But what do we propose? So we propose to fill in the application to the business and to define which problems they want to be solved by Ukrainian startups. And we will search our database, which is really huge. I will tell you a little bit more further. It's the biggest database of startups in Ukraine. And we can find these startups which like will be the perfect match with the problems of such businesses. And we propose such startups to the business. We organize different demo days, and then the company and the startup can get into negotiations and like make a deal to make a pilot. The company can invest in such startups and so on. So it's win-win situation when the startup gets investments, pilots, experience, and so on, and the company get their problem solved. Another one program is acceleration program. So the program goal is to help our Ukrainian startups to become successful as like our missions. The acceleration is about learning, mentoring, exchange of experience with the members of Ukrainian startup ecosystem, and not only Ukrainian, like international one. How do we do such program? So the fund provides an opportunity to receive a grant up to 10K US dollars per each startup for acceleration in one of our accredited accelerations. So what are the accredited accelerators? Here you can see the logos of each accredited accelerator. For example, we have accredited Startup Voice Guys is one of the top 3 European accelerators and one of top 10 world-known accelerators. Here you can find also US Mark accelerator from Silicon Valley, ISE corporate accelerator. It's our Ukrainian-based accelerator. iHub powered by Numa. This accelerator is from New York. Here you can find a seed forum from Sweden. Here you can find also Blue Lake Accelerator from London, EO Incubator. This is a project launched by US government here in Ukraine. Also here you can find Demium Incubator. It's the incubator originally from Spain. So, and also Open Data Incubator, it's also our Ukrainian accelerator. So here you can find the international accelerators and only 2 Ukrainian. So it's really a good chance to get mentoring, learning from top international accelerators. But it's not the end. We still continue to accredit accelerators. And each accredited accelerator can gather their own badge from our database of our startups. And then if they make a deal with the startup, we finance the startup up to $10K, and such startup pay for the services of the accelerator or incubator. And the accelerator doesn't get any equity from the startup. It's really main point. Now about our achievements. So as I mentioned, we have a huge database of startups. More than 2,800 applications were received by Ukrainian Startup Fund. It's only for 1 year of our active operational activity. 86 startups have received grants from Ukrainian Startup Fund. And the total amount of such grant is more than $3 million. So we are the biggest angel investor here in Ukraine, like for all the history of our Ukrainian startup ecosystem. Here you can see the overall distribution of the startups by the areas of activity in the percentage from all the application. And you can find like the area lifestyle. So it's like a area where we put different activities which are not covered by the others. Actually, as you see, we have a lot of applications in the sphere of artificial intelligence, big data, healthcare, agrotech, and so on. And here you can see the diagram with the winners distribution by areas of activity. So also here the majority in big data sphere, AI, healthcare, fintech, and so on. Look, we haven't provide grants to e-government still, but we are searching for such startups. This is the overall distribution of startups in Ukraine. So it's like interesting thing for Ukrainians, and it's like a common thing to all the countries in the world. So the majority of startups are situated in one center. For Ukraine, it's Kyiv. So more than 70% of all startups in our database are originally from Kyiv. And we actually want to develop the other cities in order to make 3 or 4 startup centers here in Ukraine. About our success stories, I know that you want to hear about it. So like some of our winners, seed stage startups. For example, we have here Solar Gaps, the system of smart blinds with solar elements. This startup became the winner of one of the biggest competitions in the startup ecosystem here in Ukraine and USA. For example, FinMap, online service for financial accounting in small and micro businesses. It's rapidly growing startup which receives a lot of investments, and this startup actually one of the best scaling startup here in our database. You can find also Mate Academy. It's online university of IT professions. This university became like it's grow from the startup to sustainable business. So now it's like a business. Cardiolize is software device independent platform for automatic interpretation of electrical heart signals. This startup moved to Finland, and they attract more than $1 million US grant there, in addition to the grant of Ukrainian Startup Fund. Pre-seed stage startups winners, for example, Skyworker, it's like HR product that speeds up the hiring of IT professionals. This startup get a grant on a pre-seed stage, and they just fill up the application for seed grants. So they are growing rapidly from the stage of pre-seed startup to seed startup. For example, Alamia is an app with a virtual friend psychologist who listens, understands, and provides different in-kind help. This is like the best startup in Ukraine on pre-seed stage. They gather all the grants on this stage for now. And plans for the future, actually. What do we need to do in the future? The first one is innovative vouchers. So we'd like to ensure the launch of an innovative voucher program. What does it mean? It's like the program about the documents which will be issued by the fund, and the document will provide the startup with the certain amount of money to fulfill the different demands in very narrow like sphere. So if the startup really have a need in financing, marketing, or sales, we will provide them with the money on such demands. So only sales, only marketing, only R&D, not a lot of spheres. So it will be like very pointful grants. Also, we are developing a co-financing program. What does it mean? We will attract VCs, private investors, corporate funds to invest in startups together with the fund. For example, we will provide $25K to the startups, and the venture funds will provide like $75K more, or the venture funds will provide like $1 million of investment, and we will provide like $500,000. So this program is under drafting. We will introduce it to our supervisory board soon. So just wait for breaking news. And here you can find our contacts. So the first one is website, then Facebook, Telegram, and YouTube. So I'm waiting for your questions. Thanks for attention.
Igor, very, very nice. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm not sure if you can check from where you are, but we have a lot of questions.
Okay. I actually see a lot of yellow flash bits here.
So yeah, there's a reason for it. People are very interested, which is very good. So I'll try to cover all of them because there are indeed quite a few. Okay. But I'll try to follow the order here. And I think the first one, and the one that also show up more frequently, was how it is to incorporate in Ukraine. What is the cost? Because as we understand, you can only get the fund if you're a Ukrainian company, right?
Yep. Really, it's very easy to set up a company here in Ukraine. It takes even 2 days and 100 Ukrainian hryvnias, for example. So it's
less than 500 reais, guys.
You should need actually $100 to incorporate here in Ukraine, just for different procedures. But then you need to open your bank account, hire people here. So it's additional expenditures here. But to set up a company, it's easy at all. 2 days.
We have, sorry, go on. That was it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, we have, so everybody should know as well, on Friday, we have a session only about doing business in Ukraine, which also involves incorporation. So on Friday, we're going to have the response for a lot of those questions in detail, including costs, including taxation, including time to open a company, visa, all these kind of things. Very important. And maybe I'll be a bit bold and ask you something, Igor. It might be that works, it might be that not. If it works, then my Brazilian colleagues thank me later. But is it possible to apply first and decide to open the company later?
No. So it's the point that you should be incorporated here to apply for other grants.
Okay, so you need to have the register number.
Yep.
In that case. Okay.
So it's in order to make compliance of such company. So when it's like the application from the person, it's really difficult to search different register to comply it with our policies, anti-corruption policies, bribery policies, and so on.
And is there a difference if you have a branch, for example, of a Brazilian company there? Does it need to be linked? Or you must have the IP and the HQ in Ukraine?
No, you shouldn't have IP and the HQ in Ukraine, but the like key demand is to be incorporated here. It's not related to IP.
Okay, and also not related to HQ. We can have a branch, for example.
Yeah.
Cool. So
okay,
yeah,
you can have a chain of companies like a business structure incorporated in different countries. For example, in Estonia, in Brazil, and as well in Ukraine. So
okay,
it will be actually a profit to Ukraine because you will get a grant here and you will spend this grant here in Ukraine.
Very good. And maybe also good to mention, I am 90% sure, 90, which is not 100, but I'm 90% sure that Ukraine has a double tax agreement with Brazil, which means that if we make money in Brazil and transfer in Ukraine and transfer it to Brazil, we don't pay taxes twice. But I need to double check because I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm 90% sure.
Okay.
But I think it's there. So that's also important for you guys because it's very strategic that you link the companies together. Otherwise, you're going to have double taxation and that can be very expensive in both countries. So very important. So let me get for the more questions here. I have one from Halfi. The ticket for city round is about 275,000 reais. Yes, something like this, depending on the quotation of the day, of course. If you guys are lucky in that case, then the dollar is higher and then you get more money reais. So good to know. Let me see here, what else? So Mateus also mentioned that he did a quick research and he saw that it can vary between $2K and $5K to incorporate in Ukraine.
No, it's like for legal payment for legal services. But if you like to incorporate here by your own, you shouldn't pay it. Okay. So it's market demand. You can find the lawyers who provide all the services for $10K US. You can find the lawyers who will provide such services for $100 US, for 5,000 market.
Cool. Yeah, and then Kirill can say a bit more about that, but I'm sure that we have someone very good on Friday to also help them with that. Yeah. Right, Kirill?
Yeah, I will have.
Amazing. Well, Andre has a question here about the visa as well, if it's easy for us to get a visa. I think, Andre, that's a better question for Friday because we're also going to talk about visa itself. What I can tell you from now on is that it's not as hard as it would be, for example, in other European countries because they have a professional visa or self-employed visa that makes it a bit easier for us. I had this discussion already. But on Friday, we'll get much more information about that. So if you can save the question to Friday, I'll be very happy. Let me see here. Blah, blah, blah. I have more here. Okay, so Luan has a question. What is your vision for startups looking to internationalize from Ukraine? so from Ukraine to other countries? And besides the financial aid, is there any technical assistance to create and establish the company Ukraine from you guys?
Okay, we support the globalization of our startups. So actually, we know that to be succeed, the startup need to incorporate, for example, in USA or in China because of markets. So in Ukraine, the total market in all the spheres is tiny one. So you need to globalize, to go to the to others market to become succeed. So we support such actions. What else do we provide to startups? As I mentioned, this is acceleration. So we provide mentoring, learning, technical assistance in such acceleration programs. Also, we will provide co-financing possibilities, and we will provide like vouchers. As for the technical support of incorporating here in Ukraine for foreigners, we do not provide such support and such services. We only provide the operational activity of our grant program and our Ukrainian Startup Fund.
Very nice. Half has another question that is, what is the first step? And then might be a suggestion from your side, but what would be the first step to enter the Ukrainian market?
To enter the Ukrainian market or to get a grant from Ukrainian Startup Fund?
To enter the Ukrainian market.
Okay, you should really make a deep investigation of Ukrainian market because it's very specific one. So it's better to hire a really good experts to investigate your sphere of interest, to provide you different analytical reports and so on, and then to make a decision to enter Ukrainian market or not.
I think I can also add on that. The first thing is you're participating here, and that is already a first step. I think that's very important to point out.
Exactly.
And the second thing, and that's something that I always tell my customers, is that and that can sound very stupid, but it's 100% true. And that is, you don't know what you don't know. Sounds stupid, I know, but it's very true. You cannot just assume that because something works in Brazil, we will also work in Ukraine. And you can also not assume that the way your product works is also going to be enough in Ukraine. So something that we always tell our customers is validation first. So if you're actually considering to go to Ukraine, use the people here in this agenda to make sure that you validate if is my product good to go to Ukraine? Do they have the same problem as I have or have been solving here in Brazil? Because that could also not be a problem there. And third, is that a good market? Right? So I would say that's step 1 and 2, right? So 1, you're getting an understanding, you're getting the network here. And second is use this network, use the people here, use the knowledge to understand if it makes sense. Because it might be that it doesn't. And if it doesn't, at least to know before you make any commitment, right? I think my happiest customer, and I'll tell just this very short story, but it's very funny to see. The happiest customer I have ever had was a Belgian company that was coming to the Netherlands. I'm not sure if I mentioned that to the Brazilian group, but I'm in the Netherlands now. I live in The Hague. But we did a similar program in the Netherlands. This guy came here for a week and he told me, look, I'm sure that we're going to the Netherlands, Belgium and the Netherlands. They're very similar markets. So we're just taking advantage of this program to get more network. And he was going to hire 3 people and open an entity. He was already talking to the notary to open a company here. And after 1 week, that he got to know some people from his industry, and we put him in touch with a few banks because he had an insurance product. He finished the week on Friday. He came to us and said, man, I really love you guys because I almost spent 50,000 euros to figure out that it was not worth it for us to be here in the Netherlands because they didn't validate it first, right? So a few conversations with people that know about your market, with a few conversations with people that understand about your industry in that country can save you thousands of reais, thousands of euros. So first step, very important, make sure that you validate it first. So I'll go to the next question, which is from Marco. After financing a startup, do you believe the fund could have a participation in the company, such as equity, seat on the board, exit clauses after a certain point, or something along those lines?
Okay, really good question. We are thinking about it, but for now we are a state-owned fund, and we do not take equity. We do not interrupt the activity of the company. We do not want to sit in the board and like to exit from such companies. We provide grants in order to boost our ecosystem. It's not the key point to make the current startup succeed. We want to boost ecosystem and to make all the ecosystem, the whole ecosystem succeed.
Very nice. And is that something that you also will keep with the same idea for these new funds that you mentioned in the end, that you're partnering up with different people?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to mention something else.
No.
Okay,
let's
perfect.
move to the other questions.
Yeah. So Ronaldo asked here, my question should be asked to Valerie maybe, but if you don't know how to answer, it's fine. We'll just jump to the next one. How do you guys feel about bringing foreign workforces to Ukraine? It will bring also cultural differences that may create frictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the question to Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, but it's a good process to make our market more international one. So for now, Ukrainian startup ecosystem, it's really like too Ukrainian. So we do not have international elements here, like for example in USA or in Estonia. So we are like a native ecosystem.
Nice.
Actually, I want to mention that we still have a lot of like companies who have like European companies, and we have more than 100 R&D centers from global companies who bring some international people to Ukraine. So we have actually tomorrow we will have Beetroot, which is a company from Sweden who has opened the office in Ukraine, and of course they have Swedish people in Ukraine. But I agree with Igor that it's not a huge number of people, and most of Ukrainian early stage startups are really Ukrainian without foreign like people in team. But if you talk about service tech companies,
yep.
They, especially European one with offices in Ukraine, they try to bring European people to their teams. So I think it's, and another great thing that Ukrainian tech developers, they also work a lot with the US market. And that's why they already pretty familiar with cultural differences. They know English, and I don't think that friction could be a problem here.
Yeah, but we have like two different worlds. Service companies here in Ukraine, like IT companies, companies who develop software and so on, they are working for international markets, and product companies here in Ukraine. So I'm talking about product companies because I'm from Ukrainian Startup Fund. So
yeah,
like,
I agree.
Our main clients are product companies, and some startups are really afraid to move to another markets because of lack of communication, international communication here in Ukraine.
Nice, and you just mentioned something that also touches upon the next question from Andres, which is basically saying that he also wants to use Ukraine as a base for their international expansion into the EU. And then he's asking, how would that look in terms of legal frameworks and relationships between both regions? And I think, I know that also Kirill can add some stuff from that later on.
I think it's also a question for Friday.
I think we can cover this question on Friday. And like to be short, there are a few different ways how you can make it. Most of Ukrainian companies, they have like headquarter, like official registration on Cyprus or Delaware, US, and they care the legal entities there, the intellectual, like all the IP. But Ukrainian office is mostly the office for tech developers and for support and for team, actually for team. But it depends what you need and what you want to grow. Because if you have a finance, like fintech startup, for example, you need to be aligned with framework of European Union, and it's better to register your company not in Ukraine, because Ukraine is not a part of European Union. But if you don't have any limitations like in fintech industry, you can operate from Ukraine as well. I have Ukrainian registration, but I can like take money from European clients, and it's not a problem. So
there are some issues, for example, with PayPal and different financial systems. So when you use PayPal, you should incorporate company somewhere in the EU, for example, in Estonia.
Yeah, PayPal is a problem, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'm sure that we have more insights about it on Friday, right? I think this legal framework, it's also very important to keep in mind.
But it's not an obstacle to have a company here in Ukraine and in other countries. So because in Ukraine, we really have good experts in development and in technical spheres. So they often don't want to move to another countries. And here you can like establish R&D or different departments.
Great. Yeah, and I think it's also important for people to keep in mind that when you're talking about international expansion, there's never a country that will fit all your needs. So you won't have a country that has a perfect tax system, cheap labor, great markets, and people have a lot of money to pay for your products. Very hard to find that. So when we're talking about creating an internationalization roadmap, what you usually do is you're going to find what you need the most as a next step, and then you're going to find a country that fits that need, right? So if you're talking, for example, yeah, I need to be on a country with a lot of easy regulation, for example, as Kirill was mentioning, to enter the fintech markets, and you want to attack the EU country or the EU member states, then of course it doesn't make that much sense. But if you want to have a good development team and a good base for building a team, building the technology, and be close to your customers in the EU, then Ukraine can be a better base, right? So it's very important that you guys keep that in mind. So when you're analyzing the country, just keep in mind what you're looking for, because it might be that it is the best choice for now. It might be that it's the good choice for later on, but at least you understand where Ukraine can fit in your planning by following this criteria, right? Or having that very clear in your mind. So I have a few other questions here. Is the application process for the funds in English or in Ukrainian?
It can be in English and in Ukrainian.
That helps. Otherwise, we just put everyone to learn Ukrainian now.
Yeah, it's we'd like to do such a thing, but we know that a lot of startups want to join Ukrainian Startup Fund, and we introduce the possibility to fill the application in English.
Amazing. Yeah, that definitely makes it easier. Mateus has a bit of a broader question, so it might also be for another time, but I'll ask anyways, and then you guys are free to answer or pass, which is, can Ukraine market be compared to the European other countries? So can you compare Ukraine and other European countries?
Okay, depends on terms. In terms of the size, Ukrainian market is not so big, like in comparison with Germany or like France and so on. But in Ukraine, we have like approximately 40 million of population, so quite a lot. For example, in comparing with Estonia, in Estonia there are like maximum 2 million people. So all the Estonian startups, to be succeed, they should be international one. But in Ukraine, you have a possibility to be local in terms of size. What about the money? So we have a huge market in agrotech. We have a lot of agro companies which are interested in innovative decisions. So it's a huge market. For example, we have one more huge market, energy and electricity, green energy, and so on. It's like very huge in comparison with the Europe. But when we are talking about industry like FMCG and so on, this market is not so big in comparison with the EU. But when we are talking about like business activities and so on, Ukraine is similar to, for example, Russia, Serbia, Poland, and all the countries of eastern part of Europe.
Nice. Very important for people to keep that in mind as well. We've got a few other questions. Let me say, Anderson sent one to me on the private that I didn't really understand about funding. So Anderson, if you can resend that to me, I'll be happy to ask. But I'll skip this one for now and go for a question that Thais is asking, which is, we have been working with health and well-being associates with the food market industry. How is the market in Ukraine in this field? So well-being and food.
Okay, well-being and health tech, it's rapidly developing market. We have a really good traction in biotech and health tech. And as for food market, as I mentioned above, we have 40 million population, so it's a good market for food.
It's nice to see. So just for people in Brazil again, we have a lot of people, right? So we have 250 or 210 million, sorry, people. And the comparison it's very different. So if you think about it, here in Europe, I think the biggest one in terms of population is Germany, which is 80 million, right? And then the UK, or vice versa, then France, and Ukraine is right there. So 40 million is indeed a lot of people. Just we have different parameters, it's good to mention. Now Luan is asking, do you have an idea of how the market B2B, how is the market on the B2B sphere for marketplaces in Ukraine? B2B marketplaces, sorry.
I can talk like from the side of startups. We have a lot of startups in B2B marketplaces. So like 10% of all the startups in our database are marketplaces. So it's really a high competition here.
Amazing. Yeah, guys, do you have any more questions? There were a lot of them, Igor. Very nice. Let me see if we have more. Yeah, so I know that Anderson is writing me or rewriting that question for me, so we can use that as the last one. And then we can wrap up. That would be my suggestion. Meanwhile, while Anderson is rewriting the question here, maybe I can ask a last one. What would be your suggestion for the companies that are interested in Ukraine? What would be your suggestion as a next step after this mission? If they're interested, of course, in doing business in Ukraine.
My suggestion. Okay, welcome to Ukraine. We are waiting you here. So just look through our website, read our programs, and actually you can find something for you. So we are waiting for you.
Amazing. Well, Anderson didn't send the question again, so I think we can wrap up. Anyone else? I think we're good, huh? Yeah, we extracted a lot of poor Igor already, which is very good. Thank you very much for the question, guys. Igor, from my side, thank you very much for you being here and sharing all this information with us. I know that's very helpful for the companies for sure. And you can see they're also quite interested by the amount of questions. Kirill, do you want to say something? I saw you were unmuting your mic.
Yeah, thanks Igor for being with us. I hope like if somebody from participants will decide to enter Ukraine and will create the innovative venture to Ukraine, I think it will be great to establish something and to cooperate with you as well, because Ukrainian Startup Fund is pretty active in Ukraine and they have a lot of opportunities. Yeah, and
one more thing, like if you want to invest in Ukrainian startups, you can also do this. Find the startups on our website, and you can contact them directly and to invest.
Yeah, great.
Very nice. Amazing. Yeah, guys, thank you very much then. Kirill, thank you very much again for setting up these amazing conversations. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Then, yeah, same time, so 10:30 Brazil, 2:30 for me, 3:30 for Kirill. And I'll see you all tomorrow.
See you guys. Thanks.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.